Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my first look at the Alienware Steam Machine. Now, hopefully you've seen my unboxing video at this point, but just in case you haven't, I want to say a few things here at the start of the video. For one, I would like to thank Dell for sending me an Alienware Steam Machine to test out, and yes guys, I did say that Dell sent me a free unit. However, I can guarantee you that all the opinions are of my own, and that, well, if I like something or don't like something, I'll be sure to let you know. Also, I just want to cover what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be taking a look at the basic Steam operating system, what its functionalities are. We're going to be taking a look at the Steam controller and what it's capable of, a good review on that. And we're going to play a couple of games. We're going to try a game that has built-in controller support, so, it's made to function with whether it be an Xbox controller or just some sort of PC controller. It has controller functionality. We're also going to be taking a look at a game that does not have any sort of controller compatibility, and see how we can map the Steam controller to do some sort of unique things. Is that supposed to be one of the big draws with the Steam Machine's controller? Is that it's supposed to make it possible to play games that aren't regularly designed for controller play through things such as the touchpad and its complete remappability. Everything on here can be remapped with the click of a button. So let's give it a shot. First up, we're going to be starting with the Steam Machine itself. So here we're looking at the Steam operating system, and I'm sure those of you who have Steam on your PC pretty much know how all of this functions. Web, store, library, community chat. Web's not one we usually have, so just to cover it really quickly, this is more of a basic internet functionality like other consoles have. Google, Twitter, Reddit. Never thought I'd see the day where a machine would come with a recommended Reddit tab right there. You also have your search history, what current tabs you have open, and on top of that, these favorites. Of course, the store functions like anything else would on Steam. It's got a featured section, new releases, top sellers, for you, a wish list. You can browse games if you want. So things that are all pretty basic. Again, if you have Steam, you're used to this kind of functionality. Now, I will say that a lot of games, it seems, do not have the Steam operating system in mind. Like, if you go to them, not all of them say that they are SteamOS compatible, but I believe games that pop up in the store itself are SteamOS compatible. And just to double check that, let's browse a game that I know does not have that functionality. I would like to just browse anything. Demos, all specials, new on Steam, top rated. Will tell me if these games don't work. I think it's only showing me the games that are working, more specifically, because it doesn't seem like any of these games don't work. All right, well, I'll show you how if a game works on the Steam operating system or not. The library, I've actually never used the community tab on my regular Steam on my PC, so I am just looking at these basic, friend activity, all content. If you really want to chat with people, there is the ability to go to your friends list and chat with people individually. You can also check your invites, manage groups, add friends, all that fun stuff. And of course, at the bottom, it lets you know what your friends are playing, what you last played, you can resume playing it, and don't forget to play Starbound Unstable in my case. We also have notifications at the top, your messages, your current active downloads, which I believe is just updating something for me right now, because I shouldn't be downloading anything. And then just your basic settings, personal account information, controller, the ability to test it, on-screen keyboard, the display audio, regular features, in-home streaming, broadcasting, the system, you got the store, the time zones, disk management. This is, again, all pretty standard stuff. Like, I don't feel like I need to go into any one feature in here in particular, except for the controller settings, which I'm going to do in-game as opposed to doing it here on this menu where it has little impact. So let's take a look at the library real quick. So I've installed 3 games, but you can also see that this is my regular Steam library. These are the games that it determined that I had on Steam because of what I bought on my PC before I played this. Now, first of all, when you hover over a game, it gives you some information in the bottom right. For the first thing it does is let you know, is this game designed for controller, it's designed for keyboard and mouse. You can see that with the keyboard right there, and you can see, this one, yes, controller, this one, controller, keyboard, controller, keyboard. Now, granted, some of these games probably have dual functionality. For example, Ares, I know, does have controller support, or there are very, very good mappings for it. Same with Battlefield. Like, obviously, people play this on the console, so you could very easily play it with a controller. It's just giving you a basic idea of what to expect. Now, the other thing under that, you'll notice some of them have an X, some of them have a down arrow, and some of them just have a check mark. The checkmark designates it's a game I have installed, and it's a game that can be played on the Steam operating system. The down arrow designates that it can be played on the Steam operating system, and I don't have it installed, but I do own the game. It's just basically asking me if I want to download it. Then you'll notice the X. That means that it's not SteamOS compatible, which you can find out by just clicking it, and it says not on SteamOS. Now, if you do have a nearby machine that's on a wired network, you can actually bring that game, and it lets you know the game doesn't run on SteamOS. But if you sign into Steam on a nearby machine running one of the supported platforms, Windows, for example, this game's supported platform is Windows, you can stream this game over your wired network. So there are ways around it. It's just a matter of, I hope that they get more games on the Steam operating system, because that, while it is a workaround that they have here, it's up to Valve to make sure that these Steam machines are going to work, that people have full access to Steam, which is really the whole draw of the system, is to have full access to your Steam library. So they hopefully can get more of these games on board. I don't know if there's anything in particular they have to do on their end, if the game needs to be remade, but whatever they got to do, I hope it gets done. And then it also gives you all your information, screenshots, recent news, friends who play. Again, all stuff that you've seen before if you've messed around with the Steam program on the PC. So with that out of the way, we're going to do two things here. Now, first I want to cover what's actually in the Steam machine so you have an idea before we go into the game. And I do have it written down over here to make sure I get it 100% correct. We have a 4th generation i3 dual core. That's what's in this current machine. A 4th generation i3 dual core. An NVIDIA GTX GPU with 2GB GDDR5. That is, if I remember correctly, a custom-built GPU for the Steam machine. We have 8GB of DDR3 RAM. We have 1TB hard drive that runs at 7200 RPM. And of course, it's got a wireless card. It's got the controller. And also keep in mind that Steam machines do come with a little content bundle. For example, Payday 2 is one of the games, the 2015 Game of the Year edition. There's Screen Sheet. There's about $200 worth of bundled content with the machine itself. So it's pretty good. Payday 2 in itself is a great game. It's something that I kind of want to jump into, but that's not the game I'm going to play for today. So now that we've covered what's in the machine, I also want to cover the price point. Now, the Steam machine, the basic price point is a machine that's slightly less powerful than the one I have now. It's $449 with the controller, $399 without the controller. And that, of course, includes that same content bundle, but that is the same 4th generation i3. It's the same GPU. It's got half the RAM, so only 4GB of DDR3 RAM, and it's only got 500 gigabytes of hard drive space, still 7200 RPM. But my model's $100 more expensive, and it has the upgrades that I mentioned before. Now, the RAM, the hard drive, and the CPU can all be changed out if you have other parts lying around. You want to make your Steam machine a little bit more powerful. Basic price point isn't so bad. You know, when I think of Alienware, I don't usually think of a decent price point. With the content bundle, it seems to be a pretty good price. And of course, the fact that you can change it out. That being said, the big test is the games themselves. Because if you can't run, the idea is that you'll be able to run the same games that may be on multiple platforms, but you should get a better performance on a Steam machine. I say should because I haven't tested them all yet. That is the idea, that, you know, you're not boggled down by like those 30 FPS limits that people are always complaining about on like the Xbox One and the PS4. Whenever certain games try to do multiple functionalities on multiple platforms, that usually ends up being a limiting factor that Steam and the PC versions don't have. This machine is supposed to be that answer. I not only can I access a variety of games on Steam, but I don't have those boggled down limitations of the other consoles. So with that out of the way, there are more expensive ones. You can do the upgrades yourself, but the most important thing we got to see, we got to review the controller, and we got to see how the games look on the Steam machine itself. So I'm going to hop into first a game that has built-in controller support. Let's go. So first up, we're going to be testing Dust and Elysian Tale. This is a game I have done most of a playthrough at the very least with on controller. So right off the bat, I have a few notes about the Steam controller. For one, when I turned the console on for the first time, it vibrated, and it hasn't done that since. I believe you're going to need a firmware update, but the first time you do it on, it may shake a little bit, which seems to be the controller's way of activating the touch panels. Sometimes when you're also, moving over the touch panels, you can feel it vibrate as well. That's probably what it's actually doing. Now, in terms of the controller itself, it works perfectly fine. It's responsive. My only somewhat complaint is that the analog stick in the middle, if you're playing like a standard game, and the A, B, X, Y buttons, which are on the inside, a little bit too close. My hands are pretty small, but I can still reach the X button, but it's definitely not as comfortable as if it was, say, here. So maybe we could try remapping that to make it more functional. The controller itself doesn't feel so bad. It's pretty heavy. It has two AA batteries in it. I believe those are here and here. and those most likely are for some sort. I don't know, the controller was working fine without the batteries. When I put the batteries in, it got a little heavier. It probably just lets me go wireless, if anything. It's probably just a bit like, here, I'll just unplug the controller. Is there any way for me to go wireless? Yeah, so the batteries are pretty much just to make it wireless. As you can see right here, it is able to access the game wirelessly. I'm actually going to try the controller wirelessly, and that should make things a little bit easier for the review. So if you don't use the batteries, you can just plug it in, and it'll be perfectly fine. It did come with 2 AA batteries, just so we're clear, that was in the box. So real quick, again, the basic functionality seems to be working, but the Steam controller is supposed to be something that specializes in its complete remappability. And you can see that here. You can see I have a left trigger, left bumper, right bumper, 2 back buttons right here. We have the select button, the start button. We have the left touchpad, the right touchpad, the joystick, and the A, B, X, Y buttons. And all of this is completely remappable. I guess the question is, how remappable is it? So let's click on the right touchpad, which is kind of the first thing that people are going to look at, is the fact that it does have 2 touchpads on them. So this is actually set to joystick camera mode, but I can actually set it to do any of these things. I can make it function like a basic directional pad. I can make it function like just a basic button pad. And if I click these things, it gives me multiple mappings that I can do here, you know, in place of just using what the controller has. So I guess we could try mapping it to see if this is going to work. So let's see, we have the A button. Now, when you actually go to map something, you can give it a name, select binding for, this is you selecting a name, and you can map it to anything on a basic controller. Scroll wheel up, scroll wheel down, left mouse button, right mouse button, mouse buttons on the left and right, F1 through 12, numpad, all that stuff. So you can even go all the way over to the right and map it to your basic functionality of a controller, of an Xbox controller, more specifically. So this is the A button. I'm just going to perfectly mimic the button. Can I go all the way? Yep, there we go. Just going to perfectly mimic the button layout on the left and see how this touchpad actually functions if I try to use the touchpad as ABXY. Let's try that first before we do anything else. So here we go. Moving left and right. All right. Okay, it definitely works. It is a bit loud, however. I will say that right off the bat. It is a bit loud, and also it's quite specific in where I have to push it in order to get the result. If I push it too far along the outside, it doesn't always respond, but if I push it on the inside, it's far more responsive, and even then, you're seeing. Okay, it's definitely a little bit louder because of the fact that it's the way that the button and the touchpad are combined together. So let's see if there's any way I can make it a bit more responsive. Repeat intervals. I can also set it to be a turbo button, where if I hold it down, it'll just, you know, spam a command. Mode shifting. This allows you to input style on your controller to be shifted into another mode while a button is being held. So I can actually give it multiple functionalities. Okay, so if I do mode shifting, what would happen? Mode shift button. So if I'm holding, okay, so this makes it so like if I was holding left trigger, or I can make it so like a full pull on left trigger would change the button functionality of these buttons. Okay, it's a lot of options. Button radius, when used on the trackpad, this determines the size of the virtual button. Let's see if I can make this like all the way, so that way like there's no mistake what the issue is going to be. My concern is there's going to be overlap with them, so if I like press 2 at the same time, it may do 2 commands at once. So then we have button distance. This determines the separation between buttons. Depending on the radius and distance, multiple buttons may be pressed simultaneously when pushing or rolling across. So if I make the distance really far, is that going to make it more correct, or is that going to make it less correct? Okay, yeah, I can see, like, you can see I'm jumping and pressing them at the same time, unless I'm a little bit more specific. However, I will say this, the commands themselves are a lot more functional. I can definitely tell where there's some overlap, though. If anything, I still just feel like using the basic A and X, which is what I'm pretty much mimicking right here, makes more sense. And then, of course, we have the basic, you know, other buttons, what those do. And if I really wanted to, these back buttons, I could do things with those. Like, okay, so this one is set to jump, and this one's set to attack. So if I wanted to, I could just run around and only use those on the back while completely freeing up the buttons on the front to do other things. And if I don't want to do that, if I want other functionality, I can change with these 2 back buttons, which are currently set to A and X. I can completely change what they want to do. I'm really digging the versatility of the Steam controller. My only thing with it right now, I mentioned the issue with the joystick and the buttons being kind of too close in the middle, so if you have small hands, it's kind of awkward to just handle the analog stick and the ABXY button. It's a little loud, which I've made sure to cover, and I've heard other people say theirs doesn't feel that sturdily built. Mine feels pretty sturdy, especially with the batteries in it giving it some weight. So I don't know. The buttons, it's mostly just the trackpads being a little loud and being a little bit difficult to map correctly. Maybe that's what other people have meant by that opinion. But overall, the versatility is great, but we're playing a game that's designed to be played with a controller. If I plugged and played an Xbox controller or a PS4 controller right now, I would have no issue playing this game without needing to worry about any of this remapping stuff. So what do you say that we try to put the Steam controller to the ultimate test? Let's put it in a game that has no controller support whatsoever and see how well we can get it to function. Let's go. Alright, so I think this game will be a pretty decent test of the Steam controller. I think you guys will agree. Alright, so we are in the game. Now, I'm going to just really quickly cover what I have for some of my basic buttons right now. I've messed with these a little bit before. So we have the right touchpad is actually my mouse. So think of this like a trackball mouse. I actually have multiple settings for it. I can change its style of input if I really want, but that's currently what I have because it's a mouse and keyboard game. I need something with a mouse. If I actually click the action, it will use the E command, it looks like. And I can choose that, give it acceleration. I can change the sensitivity. It actually doesn't have trackball mode on right now. Do I want that? I think I want to leave trackball mode off. I think I'm going to leave trackball mode off, yeah. So, with that turned off, I don't need to worry about trackball friction or the vertical scales. Mode shifting could still be a thing. Sensitivity is going to be something that I have to play with very carefully. That way I make sure I have somewhat controllable mouse movements. The rotation is the horizon line of mouse movement. Swiping your thumb over the trackpad may result in slightly canted movement. You can align this rotation to match your natural movements. That a quick swipe results in a perfect horizontal mouse movement. I have no idea what that means because I've never had to think about it before. Trigger press mouse dampening, double tap binding. I can make it so if I double tap it, it has some sort of unique effect. There's a lot of different things here to try and make it feel like a fluid mouse. Now, even though this is set to flashlight reload, I actually loaded a preset configuration, and it seems to have made something similar to that of an FPS, but these are all the namings. I've made my abilities QWER, so I have all of those on A, X, Y, and B. I can this is kind of meaningless. So I can use this. In honesty, I think I would prefer this for moving around. I don't think it's going to work because of the limitations of a analog stick in mimicking that of a mouse. So I have it actually set to the directional pad, and I can make it do different things. Again, I made it so that like this opens the store, this automatically takes everything off of my courier, which is a mechanic in the game, and then I haven't mapped these to anything because I'm not sure what to do. These are my items, ZXCV, those are the first 4 item slots I have. This allows me to select, when I level up to put a point in the skill. This allows me to put stats in. I haven't played Dota 2 in a long time. And then I have, now this is going to seem strange, I actually have the left one for right mouse and the right one for left mouse. It was set that way by default. I tried it once with the other way around, and strangely enough, I ended up liking this better with the right mouse than the left one. It confuses me sometimes. Sometimes I mess it up big time. But that's my own fault because I could rebind the game to work better. I can also open my map. Actually, no, that's not my map. Sorry. This is set to the store as well. And this is just set to be a menu thing. So now, when I go back into the game, I can actually move my character around, using the trackpad and left clicking for a click move. And then I can open the shop and I can buy, let's buy my starting items. Oops. I didn't know that pressing it twice. Well, now I have more of those than I need. I've got 8 of them. Alright, and now I can leave that. And I can level up my first skill. I'm going to put a point into Q. And we can go out into the world and we can try and see how it works. Oh, come on. I was going to get that last hit. Alright. Get the wave pushed in. Denying. Look at that. Look at my AI bot. Oh, nope. That's not right. Nope. Nope. The last hitting is not... Oh, got that one. So now, I would probably... Now, see, it would probably be best if I had bound something in the shop. Wait, what? No, don't eat that tree. Probably be best if I had bound something in the shop itself. So that way, when I go back, I can shop for a few things. Now, the idea should be... Where is the courier? The courier flew all the way up, too. Are we ganking? Ganking bottom lane? We're just getting the runes and backing off? Yes, we are. Oh, shit. You want to gank mid? Okay. That was a bad idea. Okay, yep. That was... Didn't attack the target that I wanted to. Alright, well, I think even just testing level 4, I can make sort of a final opinion about this. So I say that we cancel out and we go full screen so I can give you guys my final thoughts on the Steam controller versus, well, the Steam Machine and the Steam controller, I should say. Alright, so closing thoughts on my first look at the Alienware Steam Machine. The machine itself runs fine. I've encountered very few, if no bugs, with this current iteration of the Steam operating system. The machine itself is small, it's compact, it's got a lot of different USB, it's got all the different ports, it's got, you know, 2 USBs in the front, 2 in the back, it's got the HDMI in, it's got the HDMI out, you can give it a wired connection, it's got a built-in wireless card, and the wireless card you can get better versions of with the higher model Alienware Steam machines. So it's got all the basic functionality. The controller works wired and wirelessly, and the wire is the same wire I use for my PS4 controller to plug it in, so it was an easy transition over. The controller itself, I think, needs a little bit of work. I think that the analog stick and the ABXY buttons are a little too close. You know, I have small hands, and it's just on the cusp of being uncomfortable for me. So I can imagine people with either even smaller hands or people that don't have as much dexterity, it may definitely be rough. The trackpad, while it is responsive, honestly, after I tuned it, it worked really well for a trackpad. But I don't feel like it's a solid enough replacement for either the either a controller and a keyboard and mouse or a controller. I feel that when the games are designed for those respective things, that those options are superior. Now, if you're looking for an all-in-one option, it's great. And the fact that it can be remapped so well is a thing that I've looked for. I've been looking for a controller that can be remapped like that. I thought my Razer Sabertooth could do that. It can't. So the fact that this can is a step forward for gaming controllers as a whole, at least in terms of the software that backs up the controller itself. And honestly, maybe there's some people out there that have some crazy unique uses for the back buttons, you know, the fact that they can rebind anything. I would love to see some of the things, as well as the fact that it has built-in turbo functionality. That brings me back to the 1990s with the turbo controllers for Nintendo. And there's so many games where I've said, oh, if I just had a turbo button, I would just be demolishing this. I can think of some good uses for this controller. I want it to be tuned up a little bit. That's all I'm asking. And also, my final thoughts, while it is good to have the Steam library available on the Steam machine, the fact that there are all those games that said they were not SteamOS compatible, that's something Valve needs to work on to make the Steam machine a more desirable unit. You know, you can say you have access to the Steam library, but if I need to have a unit nearby that's running it through a wired connection, why would I not just play it on that original unit? Now, I could think of multiple reasons, you know, for the example of, you know, having friends over. It's nice to be able to have a system that you can plug in almost any controller and it'll work, and the Steam controller is just the one that comes with it. On top of that, you have the fact that you could run it, you know, if you have a friend who wants to play a game on Steam while they're at your house and you want to play it on Steam at the same time, you have this ability to both play it within reason within the same area without needing to lug an entire computer over. This thing is only 2.3 inches big, so, and it's like 8 inches wide and 8 inches long, so it's a really small and really light piece of hardware that's easy to travel with. But while there are a lot of pros, there are still the cons, and honestly, I would keep all of those things in mind. Depends on what you really want to get out of the Alienware Steam Machine. Thank you everyone for coming by my Alienware Steam Machine first look. Let me know if there's any games you think I should in particular try with the Steam controller to push it to its limit, something that's not Dota 2, something that's more is even more geared towards that. Maybe Team Fortress 2, I'll give it a shot, or something like that. Also, be sure to give me your thoughts in the comment section of the video, and if you're interested in trying out the Alienware Steam Machine, when it launches on November 10th, I will update the video with a link where you can actually find it. You can actually buy it in the description of the video. And also, if you're watching this, come on by. If it's still Monday, November 2nd, I'm doing a live demo of the Steam Machine. We're going to be trying out a few different games, and I'm also going to be giving away 4 copies of Fallout 4 for the Steam Machine. Or no, I'm sorry, not for the Steam Machine, 4 Fallout 4 copies for Steam, as well as a Valve game key, which is basically a value $200 key that gives you access to every Valve game, past, present, and future. So basically, if you win it and Half-Life 3 ever really does come out, you already got it. It's a pretty big giveaway, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to coming by for those 4 copies of Fallout 4, as well as the Valve game key. Anyway, thank you again for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Maybe I'll actually show me playing a full game of Dota 2 on this thing if people really want that. I have a feeling people really want that. I just doomed myself. Okay. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you, Dell, for the unit, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care.